test, test.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna, she wants me to set up. Okay, first. Ask her for it.
It's carpenter, right?
Yes. The structure, right? Was it supposed to?
Yeah. I meant. Wait, are you? He said 6%. Okay, good, thank you. That sounds like, what's going on? It's supposed to be James. Yes. I'm not in the right. Yeah, so you're gonna be. Sorry.
Madam Secretary, I think we're ready. Oh, okay. Madam Secretary, I believe we're ready to begin. Good evening. I hereby call the Police Oversight Commission meeting to order on Thursday, January 8th, 2026 at 5:09 p.m. Madam Secretary, please conduct roll call.
Commissioner Goronsky,
Here.
Commissioner Mejia,
Present.
Commissioner Perea,
Here.
Commissioner Said,
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Vega,
Present.
Vice Chair Castillo-Lawton,
Here.
Chair Carpenter.
Here.
Record show we have 7 members present. Chair Carpenter, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. If able, will you please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Okay, next we have the public comments section. This is a time for the commission to receive comments from the public. We will not accept any additional requests for speaker cards once we begin the public comments session. If you have not already, please submit your request to the recording secretary. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. Madam Secretary, do we have any public speakers?
At this time, there are 4 in-person speakers. David Pulido, please come to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Polito. I'm a member of CSO Orange County and its Police Accountability Committee. And we've been working with the family of Noe Rodriguez for over a year to demand justice for his death. I understand you discussed this in closed session. His family continues to demand for an independent investigation by this commission. His family demands that the officers who killed him, Luis Casillas and Isaac Ibarra, be held accountable. They demand that this commission recommend that the police department hold community meetings with the public so that the officers can be held accountable in front of the public. Now, the interests of the family directly impacted by these officers should be the priority of this commission. That family includes Erika Armenta, Noe's wife. Erika now raises 2 young daughters without a father. They're wonderful children with a bright future, but I struggle to imagine what that loss must be like for them. Erika and other members of CSO have come here many times to demand justice for the loss of Noe. Erika and her daughters deserve justice. Noe's mother, Maria Garcia Martinez, deserves justice. The email I sent to this commission earlier this week includes the full body camera footage of both officers from that night. The footage shows that Luis Casillas swerved towards Noe, immediately drew his handgun, gave 3 identical English-only commands, and fired all 18 bullets from his gun at Noe before reloading. And in the full recording, Casillas said that Noe was about to point that thing at me and that Noe looked like he was loading a shotgun. He also claimed he shot 14 to 15 bullets. These claims are all contradicted by both officers' body camera footage. In the full footage, Isaac Ibarra claimed that Noe was waving a shotgun around and pointing it in their direction. He also claimed he shot 7 bullets at Noe when he shot 11. But the truth is that Noe stood motionless in body camera footage until when officers fired at Noe, and then he turned towards the wall of gasolina furniture, and I understand that he was mostly struck in the back. Since Noe's death, both officers have been involved in shootings and alleged misconduct. Luis Casillas killed Henry Gonzalez Jr. on February 1st, 2025. After failing to de-escalate the situation, he shot him in the head. On January 15th, Isaac Ibarra was involved in the brutal arrest of unarmed Freddie Washington. Freddie died the next day in police custody, and Casillas was also the one, moving forward to June of that year, he's one of many officers who arrested 15-year-old Mario Diaz. That arrest left Diaz with broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a broken eye socket. So we urge this commission to use its power to investigate the police killing of Noe Rodriguez and to hold the officers accountable. The public deserves to know what's happening in their city and how they're being policed. The community briefings that the department releases are not only highly manipulated and the footage highly edited, proven by the full footage that we received, but they're also inaccurate. In the 10 seconds I have, Freddie Washington Jr.'s report had wrong facts in there that I verified later by investigating, finding out the true location of the family in South Carolina. So we demand all these things, and thank you very much for your time.
Erika Armenta, please come to the podium.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Erika Armenta, esposa de Noe Rodríguez, quien fue asesinado el 1 de diciembre de 2024. Primero que nada, quiero darle gracias a Dios por darme la fortaleza de estar aquí de pie y por estar luchando por la justicia para mi esposo, por mis hijas y por toda nuestra familia. Quiero desearles que hayan tenido un feliz año nuevo, felices fiestas, ya que mis hijas y yo no lo tuvimos, pero de igual modo vengo aquí a demandar que hagan una investigación independiente para que haya justicia para mi esposo, porque no es posible que ya pasando un año y aún no se esté haciendo una investigación independiente en esta comisión. Para que la rendición de cuentas suceda, necesitamos todos poner de nuestra parte lo que sea posible en nuestras manos. Yo sé que los oficiales están en su debido proceso, pero ese debido proceso a mi esposo no se lo dieron. Por eso quiero que todos se pongan a analizar y a pensar que a ustedes no les gustaría que a su familiar se lo arrebataran del modo en que me quitaron a mi esposo. Y que por favor, si pudieran hacer lo posible para que haya cámaras en las patrullas, porque es algo importante, porque de ese modo va a haber más claridad sobre los sucesos, porque muchas veces las cámaras corporales De algún modo se tapan y no se pueden ver las imágenes claras sobre lo que sucedió. Gracias.
Chair, an interpreter wasn't requested 48 hours in advance, but I can provide a brief summary if the commission would like.
Yeah, that would be appreciated, thank you.
Okay, so Erica Armenta stated she is the wife of Noe Rodriguez. She requested an independent investigation for her husband, Noe Rodriguez, and she also requested that cameras be installed in police vehicles.
Thank you.
Abraham Q., please come to the podium.
Good evening again, Commissioners and Director. My name is Abe. I'm a member of Community Service Organization. We've been here before. We understand that the Commission will, for the first time ever, discuss the possibility of finally investigating complaints under its jurisdiction. And so we are here again to continue demanding an independent investigation for Noe Rodriguez, who was shot almost 30 times by Santa Ana police officers Luis Casillas and Isaac Ibarra on December 1st of 2024. These officers have been involved in other deaths and alleged misconduct in the 403 days that have passed since then, as my friend mentioned earlier. Over these 403 days, our organization has been working with the family to generate significant public interest in this case. We've held vigils with the grieving family, and we've relentlessly pursued justice for Noe. Today, people in Santa Ana know his name and they know his case. When we first started doing outreach here in Santa Ana, people had no idea what had happened, they just knew that there was a shooting in downtown. But now when we go out, people know his name. They see the petition that we have going for Noe. They understand that this is a case where a man was unarmed and shot almost 30 times by 2 officers who failed to properly communicate with him and de-escalate the situation. Noe was holding a toy when he was shot by these officers. The department and the officers failed to identify his behavior as symptoms of mental illness per Department Procedure 4280, right? Then the first 911 call was made at 5:08 p.m., and the next one came at 5:31. This is in the Santa Ana Police critical incident briefing. Between 5:08 and 5:31, he moved from First and Spurgeon to First and Broadway to the Casa Linda furniture store. If Noe had any intention of hurting anyone that evening, he had well over 20 minutes to do so before Santa Ana PD were able to find him. CCTV footage from Santa Ana PD's critical incident video shows Noe standing motionless and people passing him by, concerned but without issue, within a minute of officers arriving. So when Casillas and Ibarra encountered Noe, they opened fire in less than 30 seconds from arriving and stepping out of their vehicles. Casillas issued only 3 commands in English before unloading his entire magazine. Noe, like many Santa Ana residents, was a monolingual Spanish speaker, but a department representative admitted in this chamber to this commission on October 9th that anytime that there is a stop involving Santa Ana PD officers, there is more likely than not going to be an officer capable of speaking Spanish. There was an opportunity for de-escalation that this agency did not take on, that these officers did not commit to. So this failure to communicate, to de-escalate, and the violation of Noe's due process, as Erica mentioned earlier, should have resulted in the firing of these officers months ago. And that is what the family demands. We will support the family in this. We want you to investigate and fire, make a recommendation to fire, because that's the only power that you have. Killer cops Luis Casillas and Isaac Ibarra. Thank you.
Matthew Compton, please come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Matthew. I'm here with CSO Orange County. I'm here to demand that SAPD hold community meetings with the public. Time and time again, we see SAPD avoid public scrutiny for their actions. Further, we continue to see them deny releasing information about officer-involved incidents even after the public demands them. For example, Freddie D'Angelo Washington was arrested by SAPD officers on January 15th, 2025 at the Santa Ana Holiday Inn Express. Freddie was sitting unarmed in a chair when officers barged in with guns drawn. The officers forced Freddie to the ground and he was put in restraints. Freddie was put in a restraint chair and locked in a cell at the Santa Ana jail. The next day, while being escorted to the OC jail, Freddie lost consciousness off camera. When he awoke, he was pinned to the ground for over 2 minutes by the knees of officers. Freddie was then put back in a restraint chair, this time along with a spit mask. At some point, he stopped breathing and lost his life in custody. Despite multiple PRA requests and outcry from the community, we still do not know what happened to Freddie off camera. SAPD has continued to deny any further information as to what happened to Freddie. The community demands that SAPD face scrutiny in the form of face-to-face interaction so we can know how our members of our community are being treated without being lied to by SAPD. I also demand an independent investigation into the Noe Rodriguez case. Thank you.
Chair, that concludes the in-person speakers. We do have one participant on Zoom. If you would like to speak now, please raise your hand. Chair, that concludes the speakers for today.
Thank you. Next on is the consent calendar. Items number 1 and 2. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a first and second. Madam Secretary, please conduct a roll call.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Castillo-Lawton and seconded by Commissioner Said to approve items number 1 and 2 of the consent calendar. Commissioner Goronsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Mejia,
Yes.
Commissioner Perea,
Yes.
Commissioner Said,
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Vega,
Yes.
Vice Chair Castillo-Lawton,
Yes.
Chair Carpenter.
Yes.
The vote is 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries.
All righty, that brings us to the end of the consent calendar. We will now recess this portion of the meeting to consider the items listed on the business calendar at 5:23 p.m.
That was kind of. I know what this is. Are there many people? Are there many people? I know I'm.
I don't want to touch.
for each one of them?
We will now, I hereby reconvene the Police Commission meeting to order at 7:26 PM. Assistant City Attorney, do you have anything to report out of closed session?
Yes, Chair, we do have reportable action of the 8 complaints reviewed by the Police Oversight Commission. The commission requested that 3 of the complaints, well, rather, I should say, the commission requested that the independent oversight director return with further information with regard to 3 of those complaints.
Thank you. All righty then. We'll move on to the study section. Next on the agenda is the study section. Item number 4 pertains to vehicle pursuit statistics. And before we begin, 2 sessions of 5 minutes each for each commissioner. And I request that you limit your questions to the first 5 minutes and any comments to the second 5 minutes. Thank you.
Commissioners, good evening. I'm here to to provide the Commission with an update on information that I have received from the Police Department regarding vehicle pursuits. How are you turning it on? Oh, no. All right. Try again. Here we go. All right, so a little bit of background information. As the Commission may recall, on October 9th of 2025, the Commission requested information and data regarding SAPD vehicle pursuits. So on October 24th, shortly after that meeting, I submitted a request to SAPD for information and data regarding vehicle pursuits, including for pursuits dating back several years, reason for the pursuit, what intervention tactics, if any, were used, such as blocking, ramming, tire deflation device, and so forth. Requested whether there was any use of force used in relation to those pursuits, demographic data regarding the occupants of vehicles, and also requested samples of use of force reports and any review by supervisors. SAPD provided various documents and data on various subsequent dates, including November 10th, December 4th, and December 8th. So I'll walk through a lot of those numbers with you. Starting, can we move the little box at the top? Maybe move it to the left. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So the police department provided data from January 2022 to November 2025. So over that time span, there were a total of 313 vehicle pursuits. 87 in 2022, 77, 73, then 76 in subsequent years. And looking at breaking that data down, so in 2022, the tire deflation device was used 4 times, then in subsequent years, 3 times, twice, then once. So over those years, the tire deflation device was used 10 times, which is 3% of the overall total. Then I've got traffic collisions that resulted from those pursuits over that time period, 1, 2, 3, over that 4-year time period of the 313 vehicle pursuits. There were 90 traffic collisions, which is 30% of those pursuits. 292 of those pursuits began in Santa Ana, which is 93%. 21 of those pursuits began in other jurisdictions, that's 7%. 188 of those pursuits ended in Santa Ana, that's 60%. And then 125 of those pursuits ended outside of Ana, which is 40%. Yep.
Sorry. For the traffic collision, are these including the officer's vehicle that collided, or is it including the person they were pursuing? Is it including also potential cars that were part of the traffic collision?
I believe it's any collision resulting from that vehicle pursuit.
If we can just hold on that question, when George gets back, I think he assisted in pulling these numbers, he should have that answer. Just very quickly, it would have qualified, ended in some type of collision that ended the pursuit. So typically, that's going to be the suspect vehicle.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so some takeaways from these numbers. First of all, the tire deflation device is seldom used. Again, just 3% of vehicle pursuits, officers only made use of the TDD, and 3% of vehicle pursuits over those 4 years. Other intervention tactics, ramming, roadblocks, were never used. And it's worth noting that SAPD policy prohibits ramming and roadblocks unless deadly force is warranted. Language from the policy says, ramming and roadblocks shall only be used when deadly force is warranted and all other reasonable alternatives have been exhausted or reasonably appear ineffective. Supervisory approval shall be obtained prior to using this technique, meaning ramming or roadblocks, if feasible. So most pursuits begin and end in Santa Ana. Nearly a third of pursuits, about 30%, involve traffic collisions. And just for some context on those numbers, in California in 2021, statewide, about 20% of police vehicle pursuits resulted in collisions. Nationwide, between 2015 and 2020, 30% of pursuits ended in collisions, so on par with what occurred in Santa Ana. And then for more context, in Los Angeles, regarding the LAPD, from 2018 to 2023, there were 4,203 pursuits. Of those, 1,592 resulted in traffic collisions. That's 38% of LAPD pursuits from 2018 to 2023 ended in traffic collisions. So just for some context.
Would you know, or I don't know if Santa PD can answer this, have any of the traffic collisions in these numbers led to any fatal incidents?
I do not know. I don't have that information readily available.
Commissioner, there is none off the top of my head that I can think of at this moment. I'm not going to say no, but I don't believe there is any no.
Okay.
In terms of a pursuit ending in a fatality.
Thank you.
At this point, our answer is still no. If something changes, we'll let you know.
Okay. So SAPD also provided demographic data for drivers of vehicles. So again, going back to 2022, again, there were a total of 313 vehicle pursuits. 254 of the drivers in fleeing vehicles were male, so 81% of drivers were male. For context, in Santa Ana, about 51% of residents are male. Of those 313 pursuits, there were 22 female drivers, which is 7% of those pursuits involved female drivers. For more context, in Santa Ana, about 49% of the population are females. For 12% of the pursuits, the gender was unknown of the driver. In terms of racial and ethnicity, can we move that box on the bottom? It's blocking some of my numbers. Thank you. Can that other bar disappear as well? Oop. Maybe not. Can I do that? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so again, 313 vehicle pursuits since 2022. 7 drivers were Asian, that's 2%. For context, in Santa Ana, about 12% of residents are Asian. 13 drivers were Black, which is 4% of the total of vehicle pursuits. For context, about 1% of Santa Ana residents identify as Black. 212 drivers were Hispanic. That's about 68% of the total number of vehicle pursuits. Again, for context, in Santa Ana, about 77% of the community identifies as Hispanic. 28 drivers were white or identify as white. That's 9%. And in Santa Ana, about 9% of residents identify as white. And then 15% of drivers, the race was unknown. All right, now my clicker is not working again. Okay. All right, so some takeaways from these numbers. Obviously, the vast majority of drivers in fleeing vehicles are men. The percentage of fleeing drivers who are Asian and Hispanic is slightly underrepresented relative to their population in the city. Percentage of drivers who are white is roughly equivalent to their population in the city, and the percentage of drivers who are Black is slightly overrepresented relative to their population in the city. In terms of reasons for pursuits, so of those 313 pursuits since 2022, 199 pursuits were initiated due to violations of the California Vehicle Code. So that's about 64% of all pursuits due to vehicle code violations. 44 pursuits, or 14%, initiated because the vehicle was reported as stolen. 18 pursuits, or 6% rather, were initiated due to a suspicious vehicle. 43 pursuits, or 14%, initiated because the vehicle or driver were wanted for some other reason. And then 9 pursuits, 3% of pursuits were initiated at the request of an outside agency.
Jack,
Yeah.
I don't, maybe you're going to answer this in the next, I didn't see it, but for the vehicle codes, do you know which ones were the most common? Or do you guys know which ones were the most common?
In terms of most common, no, we don't have that data available right now. It could be anything within the vehicle code.
But it's collected, or is it just inputted as a vehicle code violation?
I believe the entry is just CVC violation. They get a drop-down list, and CVC, stolen suspicious, is what is the option. And so to answer your question, the only way we would be able to gather that information, we would actually have to individually read each report or any reports associated with that particular incident.
From your experience, what are the most common just in general?
It could be anything, a red light, stop sign, it varies, it depends.
But nothing violent, right? Just a vehicle yeah.
Yeah.
Director Moore's question, do you have also the data broken down on the demographic data of the reasons of pursuit?
Sorry, ask that one more time, Commissioner?
Sorry, let me rephrase. Do we know the percentage by race of the reasons why they were being pursued?
We know the reason for pursuit, meaning was it a violation of the California Vehicle Code or stolen vehicle, et cetera. For each of those pursuits, we also have data regarding the race or ethnicity of the driver, yes.
Could we get that in an email as a follow-up or something?
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, so for example, in 2022, there were 50 pursuits initiated due to CVC violations. You want to know, of those 50 pursuits, the race or ethnicity of each driver?
Correct.
Understood. That can, I think I can compile that information in that manner, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, would we need a motion on that or no? For the request for information? So we maintain some sort of order?
Well, I'll defer to the city attorney's office, but perhaps at the end of the presentation, the commission could discuss next steps and vote on what additional information or what additional action, if any, the commission may want. Okay. All right. So again, this is data regarding why the pursuits were initiated, CVC violation, wanted vehicle, et cetera. So some takeaways from these numbers: most pursuits originate due to violations of the vehicle code. It is unclear what percentage of these are infractions, misdemeanors, or felonies. And the smallest percentage of pursuits are initiated at the request of an outside agency. And to the commander's point, and to answer, further answer Commissioner Mejia's question, data regarding the specific CVC violation is contained in the vehicle reports, but it's not automatically available in a database. One would need to go read each of the 313 reports and ascertain for each pursuit what section of the CVC actually was violated. So I'll talk a little bit about SAPD's review protocol when pursuits occurred and what steps take to ensure that pursuits are undertaken according to policy. So pursuits are divided into two categories, Category 1 and Category 2. Category 1 are those pursuits that result in a collision. If a collision occurs as a result of a pursuit, a blue team report is generated, and that report includes information such as the reason that the officer initiated the pursuit, whether it's a violation of the CVC, stolen vehicle, et cetera. That report includes information that summarizes how the pursuit transpired, where the pursuit started, where it ended, how long the pursuit lasted, and whether or not there were any collisions or injuries. A supervisor will review that information and determine whether or not the pursuit was justified. Now, because a collision occurred, it's my understanding that an additional administrative investigation is also conducted in addition to that blue team report. So a subsequent review is also undertaken, and that's reviewed by the supervisor, the commander, a deputy chief, the police chief, and it also goes to the training sergeant.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm wondering what happens with that report or with those findings, given that the majority of those vehicle pursuits are due to the VCC. I assume that by the sheer number, most likely they're all because of vehicle code violations. The majority. So, do you have that information?
Sorry, you.
So the ones that resulted in collision.
Right.
Are most of those. What is the reason for pursuit for those?
I haven't broken down the data in that manner.
Okay.
I think it can be broken down in that manner, but I haven't done that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So when there's a vehicle pursuit, that packet, that resulting packet of reports also includes CHP Form 187, which all California departments provide to CHP. Form 187 includes information such as driver violations, what PD interventions were used, TDD, pit maneuver, et cetera. It includes the max speed that the pursuit reached, and things like road conditions present during the execution of the pursuit. The packet also includes crime reports. So any offenses, criminal charges that the suspects are charged with will be included in those documents, as well as a narrative regarding related events, including how the pursuit transpired, how it came to a close, and how the suspect was taken into custody. So category 2 are those pursuits that entail no collision. So it includes much of the same information for category 1. A blue team report is generated, and a supervisor will determine if the pursuit was justified per SAPD policy. CHP Form 187 is also generated. That's sent to the California Highway Patrol, and the crime reports are also included. What you don't have is that secondary administrative review that's triggered by the collision because there was no collision. And there's a more limited review. So the blue team report will be reviewed by the supervisor, the commander, and the training sergeant. It does not also go to the deputy chief and the chief of police. So Policy 307, which is SAPD's pursuit vehicle policy, includes a provision on annual reporting. I call them reporting requirements, but the actual language says the chief of police should direct an annual documented review and analysis of department vehicle pursuits to minimally include policy suitability, policy compliance, and training or equipment needs. Now, I checked with SAPD. Under the former chief, Valentin, he did not direct any of these reports to actually be completed, so they don't exist. Chief Rodriguez is evaluating the need and feasibility of compiling these reports moving forward, and will determine whether SAPD will adopt this practice moving forward. I also want to bring to the Commission's attention the fact that since the Commission met and reviewed SAPD's vehicle pursuit policy, some revisions have been adopted. So during the October POC meeting, the Commission considered a pursuit policy which was dated March 14th, 2025. SAPD has since adopted revisions reflected in a new policy version, which is dated September 3rd, 2025. Changes reflected in the new policy include a debriefing requirement. So officers involved in the pursuit must subsequently debrief with the supervisor after the pursuit. More information is included in the policy regarding reporting requirements, and there are additional training requirements in the revised policy. And these are revisions provided to the department by Lexipol, which is the company that generates policy templates for SAPD and a lot of other agencies in California. Some additional revisions. Some language has been removed in Lexipol's updated version. I bring this up because it was a subject, it was a topic of discussion during the October meeting. The prior policy included the following language: extended pursuits of violators for misdemeanors not involving violence, risk of serious harm, or weapons independent of the pursuit are generally discouraged. That language is no longer within the policy. And this language has also been removed, which says the watch commander shall review all pertinent reports for content and forward to the bureau commander. SCPD said that the second sentence may be added back to the policy, but it's noteworthy that SAPD Procedure 3000 includes more detailed review requirements applicable to the vehicle pursuit policy. I believe all the commissioners also received an email from the city attorney's office regarding settlement data. I'll go over that information as well. So since 2019, there have been 53 SAPD vehicle collisions that resulted in tort claims and or lawsuits for bodily injury, property damage, or loss of earnings. The total settlement proceeds paid on those tort claims equals about $5.16 million. Now, not all of these collisions are related to police pursuits. There were 3 collisions involving SAPD take-home vehicles driven by off-duty officers driving to or from work. That totaled $1.2 million in settlement proceeds. All right, questions and comments?
Thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Goronsky. 5 minutes, we'll do 2 rounds.
Chair.
And
just
again, I'm sorry.
Real quick point of clarification, this is a work study session, so while we mentioned that you could take a vote on the information that you needed, it's more of getting a consensus from the full discussion. So the discussion as a whole, we'll gather all that information. Jack will make an assessment based on consensus, not so much a vote.
Understood. Any questions you have? Again, let's limit it to 2 rounds, 5 minutes each. First round, questions only, please. Second round, your comments. Thank you. Commissioner.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Commissioner Vega.
How often do police officers take Santa Ana PD vehicles home when they're off duty?
It's really dependent on assignment. And if they're assigned a take-home vehicle, then it would be every day.
And are we talking about the regular patrol? It's probably like the undercover.
It would depend on assignment. Again, some have marked vehicles, some have unmarked vehicles.
Okay. And that's why, so if they were driving their own car and they got into a collision, Santa Ana is not responsible at that point? It's because they were driving a Santa Ana vehicle is why they were sued, I guess? Is why there was a lawsuit?
So, yes, if they were driving their own private vehicle to and from work, it would be the same as you, Commissioner, driving to and from work. Your employer would not be responsible for any collision. It would not be any vicarious liability. But because it is Santa Ana police property that they're transporting to and from, that could affix liability.
Okay, and I'm assuming the reason why they're taking Santa Ana police vehicle is because that's part of their assignment. It's not because What I'm trying to get at is if we wanted to, let's say, avoid these lawsuits, is it possible to say all police officers should just use their own vehicles to go home?
Is your question to avoid the liability of
Of the
an
city.
officer going to and from work, just traveling to and from work? Is that,
Yeah.
again, in general terms, there could be scenarios where, I'm not even going to speculate. Generally speaking, if an officer or anybody who has an employer was driving their vehicle to and from work, and caused an auto collision, the employer would not be responsible. Now, I could think of a lot of potential hypotheticals that might change that analysis, but generally speaking, that is true.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only question I have.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Yeah, I have a few questions. For the number of collisions that resulted between 2022 and 2025, I think it was 90. Do you have data on how many of those vehicle pursuits were justified? Did you compile that?
I do not have that data immediately available.
Okay. Is now when we would ask for that information? I can't remember.
I think we can, at the end, make a suggestion. Your second 5 minutes, if that's acceptable, make that suggestion, and then we can vote on it. Would that be acceptable to staff?
So no voting, we're hearing the information. If we hear it from multiple members, then we can move forward with it.
And say that one more time, Commissioner, please.
Yeah, so of the collisions, the total collisions that resulted between 2022 and 2025, which I think were 90, 29% of all collisions, how many of those vehicle pursuits were justified? That I think would be helpful to know. The other thing that would be helpful to know also is the reason for pursuit, 64% were due to vehicle code violations. I don't think we need to know specifically what the violations were, but I think it would be helpful to understand a kind of broad breakdown of the violations. So like how many were infractions, how many were misdemeanors, how many were felonies, if it's possible to derive that information feasibly.
Now, when you say feasible, I do think that information can be ascertained. I think it would entail physically reviewing each vehicle report.
Yeah, and by feasible, I mean, if you could if it's, I don't know what the reports look like, so if it's easy to ascertain at a glance or something like that, I don't know, it might be not that difficult to compile, but
Would you be interested in all the years that are listed here? Because we do have an analyst that can go through each and every one of those reports and pull that data and get statistics. So the question would be, do you want the data for all the years here? Do you want the data just for 2025? Or are you looking at?
I think for the time period that's in the presentation, so between 2022 and 2025.
Yep.
It seems like it shouldn't be that difficult, but I don't know. I mean, I
It's
haven't.
time consuming, difficult, it's not. It's just
Okay.
time consuming.
Time consuming, got it, okay. Okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to ask about, and I don't know if that's something that we can talk about at this meeting, but the pursuits that, sorry, let me just find the page, that resulted in settlements of $1.2 million. I mean, that's a little concerning, honestly, that officers were using vehicles, for whatever, to go home, off duty, and were involved in accidents that resulted in settlements that were this big. And so I'm curious, do we have any specifics about those collisions? Like, what were the circumstances? Were the officers doing something they shouldn't have been doing? I mean,
So this presentation is more specifically on vehicle pursuits and statistics related to vehicle pursuits so that you can consider if you'd like to see this policy and make adjustments and changes to it. Once we start talking about vehicles and other policies, that would be something that you could bring up at a later date with a memo to the full commission.
okay, that makes sense. So I guess
And
my own,
I would just bring up too, that the email that I sent all the commissioners earlier was in response to a prior request for information, not to say that it was related to to this particular presentation.
I see. Got
I just
it.
wanted to get that information to the commission because I think it was requested a few months ago.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, well, in that case, I think my only other comment is that it would be helpful in another context, in another meeting, to understand a little bit more about these two particular settlements because they are concerning. I mean, those are big numbers that we're paying out for people who, officers that are off duty and using police police vehicles in, I don't know what they were using them for, but it's concerning. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia, questions?
So on the same boat of the vehicle collisions, I wanted clarity. So these, and I read the email, is the amount of the $5.16 million in vehicle collisions resulting from vehicle pursuits, or is this independent from in general vehicle collisions?
It is vehicle collisions, but it's not necessarily pursuits. So
It could be any, right? So this can also account, how I read this is that this can be because of officer negligence as well, correct?
correct. The information that was requested from the city attorney's office and the information that we would have access to related to tort claims and settlement payouts, which our office would be integrally involved in, right? So that was the data we were able to pull, was related to those things. And there could be plenty of instances where an officer was potentially negligent, maybe just missed a red light and they were not in pursuit, they were not code 3, and they just caused a collision.
Okay, thank you. And maybe to your point, this could be probably another subject matter, which is what I'm understanding. But I do echo Commissioner Castillo-Lofton's sentiment that 5.6 million and 1.2 million settlements just on 3, right? The 1.2 million is just of 3 collisions involved, is a bit alarming, and should be something that we should look further into the policies. Because if I remember, part of the concern was also potential lawsuits, right? So we should be cautious about taxpayer money. This is taxpayer money that's going to because of being paid out because of negligence. My other question is on, so Commissioner Castillo-Lofton already alluded to this about the reason, the traffic collisions and being broken down by the reason for pursuit. I would like to know which of those reasons for pursuit resulted in collision. And I would like us to look at if it's something that's minor. I do think 30%, I know you compared them to 30% being the national, but if California is 20% and we are having higher rates, I do think that should be concerning. And the comparison to LAPD, although it's nearby, LAPD is nowhere near Sonoma PD's size or jurisdiction. So I do think that it does show that it is slightly higher than it should be. That is all.
Commissioner Syed?
Thank you. In the 5.16 million, did any of those cases go to trial and result in a jury verdict?
I'm not aware. We didn't look at those particular figures. We just looked at the settlement. I mean, if it was a settlement, it would mean it did not go to trial because it was settled prior to trial.
Okay.
I don't have that data at this time.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Just asking. Thank you. I think I'm going to go back to the point I raised before, and maybe this is a comment, maybe not a question, but I don't know how much it costs to get those cameras in the patrol vehicles. So does anyone have an estimate for what it would cost to get those?
We did prepare some of that same data for city council.
Okay.
And we will be presenting that at an upcoming council meeting. I don't personally have that data available to me, but
Okay.
there was a full dash cam. There's a full dash cam body of staff work that will be coming forward.
Are we allowed to, at the time you present to city council, also recommend that it get approved by city council? Like you have our, well, my support at least to get them? Oh, just that?
I'll defer to Jack and Jonathan on that.
The commission is authorized to make recommendations with regard to policy and procedures of the police department. I guess it would simply be a matter of timing. I don't know when PD plans to bring this item to city council, but I think it would just be a matter of timing. But the commission is certainly authorized to make a recommendation that would go to the city manager regarding policies, procedures, and whatever is embedded within the ordinance that you're allowed to review.
Thank you. My question would be then, before this gets presented to city council and the report is finalized, would you be able to bring the report to us so we can assess the cost and then make a recommendation to support the purchase of the patrol vehicle dash cams? Is that a possibility?
I believe that that's going to be within the purview of the city manager's office, and whether they want to.
We can check into that. But again, here today, we're doing vehicle pursuits. If you saw this as a matter of policy in general, again, the process that we had taken is a memo. This is something, if it's of interest to everyone, that we could potentially see about bringing that back before it goes to city council, but I would have to check on that.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Pereira.
Director Morse, I just have one clarifying question on the additional revisions that were done to the policy where it states extended pursuits of violators for misdemeanors, etc., are generally discouraged. So that means that it has been removed, that language removed from SAPD's policy? Is that correct?
Which language, Commissioner?
The additional revision on page 17, the extended pursuits of violators for misdemeanors not involving violence,
That's right. Yeah, yes, that language has been removed from the current version of the policy.
Okay. And those are all my questions. I'll give my comments in the second round.
Thank you. Commissioner Gronsky, any questions?
Maybe I missed this, I'm not sure. But on the last page, there were the city settlements under the collisions involved with the Santa Ana PD take-home. Why are the police officers taking the cars home to begin with? They only do that, I know, in small countries, small states, small counties. Our son, when he first moved back to Indiana, he lived in kind of a small town down in South Indiana, and the police car came home all the time, every day. And also in Bakersfield, the same thing. Why are they taking him home?
Thank you, Commissioner Goronsky. There's a couple reasons, but mostly it's assignment dependent. So there's certain assignments that the officers are afforded a take-home vehicle for the purposes of accomplishing their assignment and their mission, yes.
Then my next question was going to be, I guess you've answered it. If they were in a police vehicle that they were allowed to take home and got into an accident, when they got into the accident, they weren't on duty, correct? It just happened, either going or coming. So why was the city responsible then for paying the bill for the other people?
I'm going to answer that question, but again, I think we're drifting here. The city's responsible because in those instances, the officer was driving Santa Ana PD property, and that can assign liability.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. That answers it, I guess. Thank you.
Commissioner Vega.
Is there a policy where if an officer is involved in a collision, is there training, like mandatory training that they have to go through?
Depending on the collision, one of the recommendations can be additional training, yes. And just for the benefit of the entire commission, we are in the process, under Chief Rodriguez's leadership, of sending the entire Field Operations Bureau back through emergency vehicle operations training at an off-site facility. So that's something we're in the process of, non-disciplinary, of course, but just getting everybody retrained in driving emergency vehicles. That started in 2025, and I think we're getting towards the end of finishing it here in early 2026. We had to train several hundred officers in that, and I believe they only do 20 at a time. We had to go to the EVOC facility out in San Bernardino, where they go out and drive the vehicle and they do the whole thing. So yes, they do get training.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair?
I have no further comments.
Commissioner Mejia?
Yeah, I think for me, it is a bit concerning, despite not knowing the specific details of the vehicle code, that 64% of the pursuits are because of vehicle codes. And if we just look at 2025 last year, that's about 78% actually of the vehicle pursuits were because of vehicle codes. The last presentation on October, when I asked, I think Sergeant or Commander, I forgot his name, about the reasoning for pursuits, he mentioned that they have a process and that they're not for minor things, that pursuits are because of something more suspicious. And when I see the numbers though, I mean, I'm glad that I understand that if a vehicle is stolen and somebody doesn't stop, well, that leads to a pursuit. I think I understand that if somebody's wanted and they don't stop, that leads to a pursuit. But if the majority are because of vehicle codes, I think that maybe the data shows that maybe we should be looking more into this policy and addressing some of the problems. So I would suggest that we look further into that, because if most of the reason for pursuits are because of vehicle codes, I would like to know a little bit more, given that we were told that the reason for pursuits were usually catered or left to more dangerous situations.
And Commissioner, when you say you want to know more, do you mean you want that data broken out into the types of vehicle code infraction?
So I know Commissioner Castillo-Lawson already requested that, and I would like further analysis from your part to look at maybe potentially how does this compare either to another similar jurisdiction, or what do other departments do when they are in this predicament to resolve the issue? It doesn't seem like that should be happening, is my point, and I would like to solve that.
Commissioner Sin.
I love the additional training. I think that that's a really positive thing that we're doing for the police department. The more training and experience they can get, I think the better they're gonna drive. I think that there needs to be accountability when they're in a car accident. And it seems like this policy outlines the steps for that. My comment would be, depending on the cost, which I assume would be reasonable, I really encourage and recommend the cameras for the patrol vehicles, just because in case an officer's body-worn camera doesn't turn on, or in case, I'll give a hypothetical, an officer is just driving and someone accuses that officer of road rage, the body-worn camera is not going to catch anything because they're not doing anything, but the patrol dash cam would. And that would help the city reduce the liability. So if we can get those dash cams for every purpose to see what happens in every pursuit from start to finish, I think that would really help reduce the liability for the city, and perhaps make officers more accountable, because a camera is constantly recording. And with that, thank you very much for the presentation.
Commissioner Pereira.
Can I just ask a clarifying question or make a clarifying comment? Regarding dash cams and the possibility of capturing, or addressing allegations of road rage and so forth, the cameras are not always running, right? They have to be activated. Is that right? Well, I'm not talking, understood, but in terms of police dash cams, I think that they have to be activated.
It would be depend how the system is configured.
The one for my city is constantly on, at least to my knowledge, so it's been really helpful.
It's different in LAPD, so I realize that's not where we are.
And what
Okay.
what you may be both experiencing, I think it's really a configuration, a data storage issue, but some systems have like a buffer system where they retain 2 minutes of video, 3 minutes of video. So if you are in a collision and you activate the camera, it goes back 2 minutes and captures that data. So it may not be continuous to where you have hours of data, but it's a configuration, it's a setting.
Thank you.
All righty, I guess it's my turn.
Going.
Oh, Pereira, Commissioner Pereira, you didn't get the chance to finish, my apologies.
No worries. So I am adding my comment on requesting having information or the breakdown of the reason of pursuits by race. Would like to see that information. I mean, it's concerning that we didn't have a reporting requirements report on under the previous chief. So hopefully the current chief considers doing that. I also understand that not all the vehicle collisions reflected on the settlement amounts were done necessarily for pursuits, but it is concerning. Any amount of dollar that is essentially spent through settlements in this economy is not good. But I am particularly concerned about the 1.2 million settlements for 3 collisions. That's like $400,000 for each collision. So I would like to get further information on those 3 collisions as well. And I echo Commissioner Said's comments. If there is a proposal that is brought to the commission to show support for the vehicle cameras for the city council, I'll be supportive of that. And those are my comments.
All righty, I guess it's my turn. I just have a real quick question. Is there a policy, and I'm sure there is, for after an accident? In regards to accident, a police-involved accident, whether he's on duty, off duty, I don't care what the situation may be.
So a couple questions commingled in there. Yes, an on-duty collision does result in a traffic collision investigation and an administrative investigation. Off-duty in their own vehicle?
No, I'm in reference to an off-duty in a city vehicle.
Depending on the circumstances, when an officer is off duty, I think we need to clarify that. They may not be here in the city working, but depending on the context of what they're doing, they may be outside the city. They may not be technically off duty until they're in the confines of their home. So there is some debate there. Everything's situation dependent. But the simple fact that they're in a government vehicle warrants a traffic collision investigation as well as an administrative review and investigation.
So bottom line is you have a policy for?
Yes.
Correct. Excellent. Thank you. All righty. Everybody's had their chance for comments. I'll have mine. I don't think we need all this data that's being requested. It just gets to be data overload, in my opinion, and we compile Jack's time on things that may not be relevant to anything we ever look at. I think if we're doing a policy review, then we request data. But requesting all this data continuously is just burning up your budget. We have more important things, in my opinion, to have you spending your time on and the budget spent on. So my recommendation is that, no, we don't get more information. The only thing that I think would be valid is the information on the 1.2 for the off-duty collisions, see what happened there. But anything else, I think, would be a waste of taxpayer dollars, quite bluntly.
Chair, just a clarifying comment. We do now have a data analyst that could sort the numbers in the fashion that some commissioners have requested, I think. So that would not be time that I'm billing for. That's a city employee, correct? The data analyst?
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a city employee now who can analyze data.
I appreciate it, but again, it's just like, in my opinion, it's data overload. We get all this data, and then what do we do with it? Unless we're reviewing, in my opinion, unless we're reviewing a policy, that data just becomes data. It's just something we have. we've requested so much data in the past, and it just compiles, and again, if we're not reviewing a policy, it's just data compiled.
Commissioner, can I add one component to that? And just to complement what Jack said, he obviously spoke about the new personnel we have to assist him with data, compiling the data. The police department does not have that. So every time this data requests come, for example, the actual CVC codes as it relates, that's 313 reports we have to manually access, produce, print out, put into a PDF and what have you, and pull that, archive it, determine which ones, now, if I heard correctly, determines which ones of those pursuits were for CVC and what race the driver was, if we can determine that, and ultimately get that all to this gentleman so he can compile that data ultimately to come back here. So from a police department's perspective, it's very labor intensive.
And I fully agree with you, and that's my point. And again, we compile this data to what end? Unless we're, in my opinion, unless we're actually looking at a policy for a revision or to modify it, that's when that data becomes important. But just to have it because you want it, I disagree with that. And it's still taxpayer dollars no matter how you slice the pie. He's a city employee, it's taxpayer dollars, and to your point, somebody's manually got to go through that. And is that the best use of their time when we have other more important things up on the table?
Chair Carpenter, I mean, you have to look at it from different angles when it comes to policy. We could say that the data will be necessary for us to even begin considering policy review and recommendations, because I can tell you I want to know the breakdown of demographics and race on the types of reasons, because I want to know if there is something that needs to be flagged. $5.1 million on settlement, that's a lot of money that if we can begin digging into and understand, what is going on in the way that officers are driving, that can be mitigated, will be very important to save money. So, I think that, there's value for us understanding, just getting more information and just understanding what might need to be changed.
I'm not arguing that. My point is, if we haven't been tasked with finding what that $5.6 million was spent on, that wasn't our purview. This is about pursuits. Again, I think if that's something we want to look into, we need to agendize that and look at it that way. But just requesting information that comes back to us and then what? That's my point, is it's the then what that bothers me. You get this data and then what?
Chair, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think moving forward, because now our director is going to have a lot of work ahead of him, that we should really try to, I'm all for gathering data, but it would be very helpful for the rest of us to understand the person requesting the data. Maybe if they can tell us how that data would be helpful. If the insinuation with the CVC is that maybe where we shouldn't be pulling people over, or we shouldn't be pursuing people who flee because of a code violation, card violation. I mean, I don't know how many of us would support that. I mean, if you break the law, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're fleeing, I mean, how many of us up here are going to support don't pursue that person? So I think if we're going to ask for data, it would be great to understand why.
I can add to that. So I think I was very specific on why I was asking that, and I'm not necessarily particularly asking by race or anything, although I do find the importance of it. But if we're going to make policy changes in terms of the vehicle code, what you just said is an opinion, right? You just said your own opinion. It's not facts. It's not based on any evidence. It's your own opinion. You're entitled to that. But if we're going to make policy changes, it should be based on what's overall safety. We're not here, our job is not to determine what the law is, nor to surveil that. That is Sonata PD's job. Sonata PD enforces the law. Our job is to ensure that the oversight looks at how policy and practice are out in the community. And if we're seeing that 78% of the vehicle pursuits are because of a vehicle code violation, I would like to know, is this something we invest our time in? Is this something that has to be about training? is it that it's being triggered by officers? What exactly is happening? Because I can guarantee you that if 78% of the pursuits are because of vehicle code, are those also part of the reason why there's a traffic collision? I don't know, the data doesn't support that. We cannot give advice or suggestions on a policy if we don't have those specifics.
I have a
And
question, Dad. May I add
just-
real quick to that? I'm sorry, were you? Okay, it has to do with hers. How many officers do we have in the city now? 300, 3 something, almost 4?
380.
380, okay. How many of those officers? Okay, under 400. How many of those officers have been involved in accidents?
I don't have that data available.
Well, I say off the top of your head, in being here for all the years you've been here, do you know about how many that you've seen or that you kind of know about?
You know, that's not even a number I will speculate at. I will say we have vehicles in the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in all climates, doing all types of activities. So unfortunately, traffic collisions do occur.
And just as a reminder, so the 30% rate in Santa Ana is consistent with national standards. So looking nationwide at law enforcement agencies across the country, about 30% nationwide of police pursuits end in traffic collisions.
But in California, it's 20%, right?
According to the data I have, yes.
Okay, now I just want to add a couple things. I agree with everything that's been said. I think, there's a fine line with data. I think data can be helpful. I think, for example, there's a presentation about vehicle pursuits and, numbers and things like that. If there are gaps in the statistics that we've been presented, I think it's helpful to fill those gaps in to help us identify whether there are areas where there could be improvement. For example, if the vehicle code violation pursuits result from entirely infractions, I think that's something that is problematic, and it's helpful to know that. So that goes to the what if. But on the other hand, data requests that are super and detailed and ask for a lot of minutia, I think also are not helpful or could lead us down a rabbit hole that doesn't produce anything meaningful. And so I don't want to say, take a black and white approach and say, it's inappropriate to ask for data, because I don't think that's right. But I do think we need to be mindful about balancing the requests, the data that we do request.
And some data is easier to access than others. So to the deputy chief's point, if you want to know, of the CVC violations, which were infractions, that does entail looking at all 313 vehicle reports. But if you want to know, of the CVC pursuits, which drivers were of which race or ethnicity, that's just a matter of rearranging those numbers in Excel. So I've got that data in an Excel spreadsheet. It's just a matter of rearranging it and sorting it based on those categories.
And just to respond to that, so when I asked for the categorization of CVC violations, the vehicle code violations, that's why I prefaced it by saying if it's feasible, because I don't know what's in the reports. It's possible that yes, there are 300 reports, but you can very quickly ascertain, okay, this involved a misdemeanor, this was an infraction, this was a felony. I don't know what they look like, and that's why I defer to the judgment of city staff and how they see they best see fit to invest their resources. And I just wanted to clarify that about my request.
Sure. So that information is on the front page of the report. Now, there could be 6 different CVC violations at issue, but it's on the first page of the report.
And just let me add, I am not minimizing that data is not important. My point is the overabundance and when it just becomes data. And quite frankly, if most of the pursuits are CVCs, it makes sense because they're people driving cars and they don't pull over. So I don't care if it's an infraction or not, the person doesn't stop, they initiate the pursuit. So You can't say, okay, it's a CVC violation, it's a broken taillight, I'm going to let it go.
But
That's negligence of duty also.
To respond to that point, though, I think that the policy does delineate between when a pursuit is justified and when it's not. I don't know if the policy authorizes police officers to engage in dangerous pursuits over an infraction.
And I'm not saying that, but my point, okay, go ahead.
Chair, if I may interject, you had a process here by which everybody was getting a block of time, and I wonder if that process might be a better use of the commission's time rather than the back and forth to make your comments, to make your statements, to make your point be known, and then move to the next commissioner for them to do the same.
Okay, we had our 2-5 rounds. I think we can call the end of the study session if that's acceptable to everybody.
Well, we want to make sure we do capture all of the information, what you want to see moving forward. So while you've had time to talk, and I know that work study sessions do allow, I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with Jonathan here. This is a work study session, so we want to hear opinions. We want to hear what's going on because, again, there's no action being taken. So we're hearing that vehicle pursuits are important to you. We're hearing that the statistical data, what are we stopping people for, is important to you. And if that is something that the commission wishes for us to bring forward, if we're hearing enough consensus, that's something that we can do. But I don't want to get away from the fact that this ultimately is for the vehicle pursuit policy. And I haven't really been hearing that you want to review the vehicle pursuit policy again, but maybe it's we reviewed it once, you asked for data, we brought the data. What would you like to see? Do you need more data? Would you like to review it? Would you like to drop it?
My opinion is no, I don't want more data. I think we've got enough. You know, you have a policy and there's discretion involved in this. If it's a vehicle code violation, if they decide to pursue or not, I think the officers need that latitude. That's just my opinion on it. I don't think we need any more data. We've been through it once. I think we have a reoccurring problem with this kind of thing. Yes, the only thing that I would request data on is the 1.2 million. I think that's important.
1.2 million, that would be outside of the scope of the information. So if you wanted to come back with the memo, and that's the same issue that Commissioner Mejia brought up, and the same issue that Commissioner Castillo-Lofton. So it sounds like we're hearing consensus that that's an area of interest, which is a settlement. So instead of waiting for a memo to come forward from somebody here on this commission, maybe that's something that our Police Oversight Director can start looking into reviewing a little bit more. And maybe that's something that we bring to you as a separate item.
Yeah, and another concern of interest that I feel like at least 3-4 of us have mentioned is that vehicle collision component. Yes, maybe the chair doesn't agree with it, but I've heard several other folks who have. And so if you're looking at consensus and several people, more than one, I think that's also important. And I'm not asking for substantial data. I think the important part is because there is discretion, you're deciding which ones are worth to pursue or not. And we're not saying to allow people and be, to not have any rules. That's not necessarily what's happening. Each time you decide to stop someone, you have discretion whether you decide to do so or not. And I do want to make sure that we're also being mindful that just because you think something, we talked about biases right before, that is a form of bias of whether you think someone should or shouldn't. That's not even the discussion here. It's whether the policy improves. So from my perspective, I think having the vehicle code information would be helpful. And also once you have that data, bringing back into policy to see if knowing that information, whether it's something an infraction and the policy already says that they should have more, they should be ensuring that the reasons for pursuit are otherwise, then that's something to keep in mind of any potential edits. But I do think I've heard it from several of us.
And I'll just, again, clarify that I defer to the discretion of city staff. So if something is difficult to pull, that's fine. I'm not trying to send anybody down on a goose chase or anything like that. I want to be mindful of how we invest our resources as a commission. And so the requests that I made, I think were two very discrete things. One, categorization of California Vehicle Code violations, and then two, of the collisions that were the result of police pursuits, how many of those were justified or not?
And then
Vice
Deputy
Chair, sorry. Vice Chair, I think I might be able to help you with some of those, maybe, and satisfy some of your questions. So generally speaking, the majority of vehicle codes are infractions. So most things will start off as infractions, whether that's speeding, whether that's running a red light, whether that's running a stop sign, any type of equipment violation, tinted windows, no license plates, whatever. Those are all generally infractions. So it starts there. But I say that through the lens of running a red light can kill somebody, running a stop sign can kill somebody, excessive speed could obviously be very dangerous. So the fact that it's an infraction in and of itself doesn't necessarily minimize that a police officer has a discretion to address that conduct or not. Once they attempt to stop an officer and the vehicle fails to yield, that could be misdemeanor evading, depending on the conduct, say, however it plays out, and then they end up yielding and they take them into custody, that could be misdemeanor evading. Or if it's high-speed pursuit involving a bunch of resources, traffic collisions, all this kind of stuff, then of course we can get into the realm of felonious conduct. But I think you had asked a question about the tiers of the infractions. So it can be a variety of things. I don't know that we're gonna see a trend when we start to review these numbers. We pull the 313 vehicle codes, if you will. I don't know what we're gonna end up seeing in there. It could be all over the board, it could be very consistent. But usually once the pursuit starts, then it's just vehicle code after vehicle code. Now they're running a red light, now they're changing lanes, now they're lane straddling, now they're not using their turn signal. So it's all in the vein of the pursuit, so now it's just compiling the issue. The other question you had was, what was the second half? Oh, the traffic collisions, right? How many resulted in traffic collisions?
How many of those were justified?
How many were justified? So I don't have that number off the top of my head, but generally speaking, when we talk in terms of justified within a pursuit, we talk in terms of within policy, without a policy. And again, that's what we're talking about here. We have a pursuit policy that requires a variety of things. When we're conducting our reviews as a police department of that pursuit, we're ensuring that the officers were complying with those criteria. Were they broadcasting the information properly, the want, were they utilizing the balance test? Was there the adequate number of officers involved in the pursuit? 2 units and a supervisor typically. However, we can't authorize more with the supervisor's permission. A supervisor can authorize a canine to be part of the pursuit. So that's a general baseline, but we can greatly increase that. If there's multiple occupants in the vehicle, we can very much increase that. Was that information conveyed? Was it properly supervised? Were the officers driving with due regard? Did they have their seatbelt on? Did they have their body-worn camera on? Those are all things that happen during the course of a police pursuit review. Now, if any one of those things didn't take place, then now we have managerial discretion of how we're going to address that. Does this officer need to be trained? Do they need to be disciplined? Do they need to be both? Do they just need to have a conversation, a counseling, a mentoring session, whatever you want to call it? But then once we identify issues, if there are present, what are they? Is it a mistake? Is it misconduct? Or some variety thereof? So those are the processes that are in place right now.
And just to add to what the deputy chief said, so I hear from some commissioners a concern that, pursuits for minor infractions may end in collisions or injuries. SAPD policy does involve a balancing test. So that officer in pursuit should be assessing, the danger that the pursuit presents to the public versus the need to apprehend the driver for whatever infraction may be in play. And that the pursuing officer should be assessing road conditions, weather conditions, things like that. So under certain circumstances, it's my understanding that if the danger to the public exceeds the need to apprehend the suspect, or if that suspect can be apprehended at a later time because that the officer has the plate number and so forth, then that pursuit will be terminated for those reasons.
Real quick, because this is something, I'm sure this was discussed, but what constitutes a pursuit? I'm being pulled over, the taillight's out, and I don't stop. You've hit the reds, you hit the siren, I don't stop. I'm not speeding or anything else. Is that still considered a pursuit? And what falls into that category of pursuit? That doesn't necessarily have to be high speed or anything else, correct?
There's an actual definition in the policy, an event involving one or more law enforcement officers attempting to apprehend a suspect who is attempting to avoid arrest while operating a motor vehicle by using high-speed driving or other evasive tactics, such as driving off a highway, turning suddenly, or driving in a legal manner but willfully failing to yield to an officer's signal to stop.
Thank you. And high speed could be 40 and a 20, correct? Thank you.
I don't require any more additional information when it pertains to pursuits themselves.
What I would like to re-ask or re-request, which I did several months ago, is there any way or any chance that we can have a piece of paper with all these initials on to tell us the definition, what do they stand for? Because there's a lot of things we went through, well, we went through the complaints there in the other room. And I had to keep asking, what does that stand for? What does that stand for? And if I had a sheet in front of me, I could just pick it up like that. Is it possible? Sure it is.
Yes, our new analyst will work with PD to gather all that information and put it on a sheet for you.
With whom? The PD?
Yes.
Or just avoid using acronyms in the reports.
You know what? Let's do that, but we'll work on something too.
Okay, thank you. I sure would appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, does that bring the end of the study session? All right.
Okay.
We good? Okay, staff comments. Deputy City Manager Vasquez, do you have any closing comments?
Happy New Year. Welcome back, everyone. It's a pleasure to be working with you again in 2026. I feel that we are off to a very good start. We're finally looking at complaints. So just looking forward to this coming year.
Thank you. Now, are there any Police Commissioner, Oversight Commission member comments? We'll start with Commissioner Gronsky. These are your closing comments. This is the end of the session.
Oh, I thought that was my closing comment, that other one. I'll just say closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. A very interesting evening.
Commissioner Vega.
No, just thank you to staff and thank you to my fellow commissioners. I appreciate the dialogue and the differences of opinions, and I'm really happy to start, some of these, looking into the complaints. So looking forward to this year, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Vice Chair.
I echo Deputy City Manager Vasquez's comments. I'm excited to start looking into complaints, start reviewing complaints, and working with you all through that process.
I just wanted to say something really quick too. Sorry to interrupt. Talking about the complaints, just the message from your friendly Assistant City Attorney here, just a reminder that all the complaints, everything discussed in closed session is confidential, and just wanted to put that on the record. So, but I am also excited to review the complaints.
Thank you. Commissioner Mejia.
Yeah, I just want to thank the staff for the report and for the data. I think it was really helpful, and I think that when we have numbers, it helps us contextualize and understand things and not just in a hypothetical way. And I'll say what I always say to my students: when you get data and your opinions don't match the data, then I think it's time to kind of question your opinions. Thank you.
Thank you so much to staff. I really appreciate tonight's meeting, and I look forward to February's. Thank you.
Commissioner Pereira.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. And yes, really excited to get work done this year and looking forward for the future conversations.
Thank you. Yes, thank you guys for everything. It's been a wonderful evening. It's been very interesting, and I'm glad that we do have different opinions because that's what makes the world go round. With that said, the next Police Oversight Commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 12, 2026 in the council chamber at 5 p.m. I hereby adjourn the meeting at 8:46.